What should you do when you've run out of room on your layout? Going wider is not an option, so I decided to go up. And I like looking at my trains more than I like running them, so it makes sense for me to use the addition as display space. In the first episode, I made a framework from scrap lumber that will support a few trains and a variety of small cars. The plywood will also serve as the backing for several layers of foam insulation that I'll carve to look like rocks. This view gives an especially good idea of how triangular the top is. The rock formations will be flatter at the base and gradually expand to match the upper platform. Building supplies have gotten pretty expensive, and sometimes things actually do fall off trucks, not like on The Sopranos. But when a big sheet of insulation is not properly tied down, it can catch some air and land on the side of a highway, which is how I got this. Styrofoam isn't too hard to cut, especially with a new blade. But because the insulation is 2 inches thick, it takes several passes to go all the way through. I'll stack 4 pieces on top of each other and make the first of the 2 display areas about 8 inches above the layout. I've watched a few other people on YouTube carve these flat shapes into beautiful and convincing rock formations. I'm not too confident of my abilities yet, so I'll start with sedimentary rocks because they looked easier. My 2 practice pieces turned out okay, but I think I can do better. In the real world, such recessed areas would be due to erosion. For my wall, I'll carve out longer horizontal cuts in random sections near the base. Some will be shallow and some will be deeper. I'll create a stepped effect towards the end where the trains will pass by, as if the layers are slowly breaking off and falling downward. So far, it's better than my 2 practice pieces, but not by much. A stiff wire brush, though, dragged across the styrofoam, will add a lot of roughness and texture. To me, it begins to look more like flaky shale or a slate-like material. The wire bristles really create a layered look that you would find in real sedimentary rock formations. I'm getting slightly more confident at this point. My cuts go a little bit deeper, and the long straight nature of the piece is getting less flat as larger sections near the top and bottom edges are slowly removed. The end gets better too, and the wire brush is really making a mess, but I'm using it to better effect than with the earlier sections. The layered look was starting to get a little bit old. I don't want my entire 8-inch by 24-inch rock face to just be sedimentary rock. So, I started to think about boulders, or larger cracked sections of what I imagine granite might look like. To make it more three-dimensional, I glued a few scraps of styrofoam strategically towards the widening end of the triangular shape, and then I'm going to use the wire brush a little more sparingly on this level. I like the idea of the larger rocks poking outward. I'm no geologist, but I think you'd have to have some fairly solid stone in the type of overhang that I'm trying to make. Carpenter's glue is what I've been using to hold the pieces together. It doesn't dry very quickly, so I've been putting sections together at night and then coming back to carve on the next day. Styrofoam has been nice to work with. It holds its shape really well and seems very resistant to warping. It's very consistent in width, so just a 3-pound weight placed on top will hold all the pieces together until the glue sets. This is the biggest piece that I've tried so far, and it will also be the most visible, as it will support the first of the 2 display areas. I'd like to hide the fact that each section so far began at 2 inches thick. So I'll continue gluing additional sections to the overhang, but these might vary between 3/4 of an inch and 1 inch in thickness. When I glued these 2 pieces together, I created a vertical seam, which I'll try to hide by making it look like a crack between several large stones. A shallow slicing motion finished off with a twist at the end is good for creating chipped sections at the edges of a rock face. Changing the direction and angles of the cut also will help to form a more natural look. I like the look of the larger and more solid looking boulder shapes. It makes sense, to me at least, that there might be big chunky rocks at the base that are lending support to the overhang up above. So I added about 1¼ inches of insulation to the bottom, and this section plus the upper level, these two turned out to be my favorites. The sedimentary, or flaky, rocky looking parts, they look okay, and they were pretty easy and quick to make too. But these shapes, I think, will have a lot more visual interest. This is more of the shallow slice and twist at the end method here. I'm using it to make the cracks between larger stones, and also to blunt some of the corners on those larger stones. My longest passenger car makes the turn with nearly an inch to spare. So all of my locomotives and other rolling stock should be able to make that turn too without hitting into the new rock formation. Once I glue the upper plateau to the lower section, I'll be ready to move on to paint, which will actually be done by the time you are watching this, and I can honestly, but not too humbly, tell you that it looks awesome. I don't know if you would ever find a rock wall like this in the real world, but I think it looks pretty good. I still need to carve an even larger section to go above this, but I'm feeling more confident now. I'm actually looking forward to it, except for the cleanup of all the little carved pieces that get chipped away. That's a pain. In the next video, I'll demonstrate how I painted this using just 3 different colors of acrylic craft paint from Walmart. It turned out even better than I had imagined. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and until next time, this has been Bob's Workshop. Take care.